The average person checks their phone 96 times a day. That's once every 10 minutes. Every notification, every like, every swipe triggers the same neural pathways as cocaine. And just like cocaine, we need more to feel the same high. More stimulation, more distraction, more pleasure. In 1932, Aldous Huxley wrote about a society controlled not by force, but by happiness, where people would gladly surrender their freedom for comfort, where pleasure itself would become the chains that bind us. He thought he was writing science fiction. Turns out he was writing a warning. Because right now, your brain is being hijacked, not by some shadowy government or evil corporation, but by your own desires. The same instincts that kept our ancestors alive are now being weaponized against us, and most people have no idea it's happening. Today, depression has tripled despite having more entertainment than ever. Anxiety has skyrocketed while we're more connected than any generation before us. We have infinite choices, unlimited content, constant stimulation, yet we've never felt more empty. What if everything designed to make you happy is actually destroying you? What if pleasure itself has become the most sophisticated form of control ever created? The neuroscience behind this is terrifying, and once you understand what's really happening to your brain, you'll never look at that next notification the same way again. In laboratories across the world, scientists are discovering something disturbing. Rats given unlimited access to cocaine will use it until they die. They'll ignore food, water, even their own offspring, just to press that lever one more time. But here's what should terrify you. When researchers studied human brains on social media, they found the exact same patterns. Dr. Anna Lemke from Stanford calls it the dopamine economy. Every app, every platform, every notification is precisely engineered to hack your reward system. Former tech executives openly admit they designed these systems to be addictive. They studied casinos, copied slot machines, and applied those same psychological tricks to your pocket computer. But this goes beyond phones. Our entire society has become a laboratory for instant gratification. Fast food delivers engineered combinations of salt, sugar, and fat that override your natural satiety signals. Dating apps turn human connection into a slot machine of endless faces. Streaming services use autoplay to keep you watching. Online shopping offers one-click purchases with next-day delivery. We've created what neuroscientists call supernormal stimuli, artificial rewards that our Stone Age brains never evolved to handle. Your ancestors had to work months for a harvest, court partners for years, craft tools by hand. Today, food arrives in minutes, sex is a swipe away, entertainment is infinite, and your brain, designed for scarcity, simply can't cope. The damage is measurable. Brain scans show that people who regularly chase instant gratification have physically smaller prefrontal cortexes, the region responsible for self-control, planning, and delayed gratification. They're more likely to be obese, in debt, divorced, and depressed. They literally lose the ability to resist impulses. But here's the darkest part. This isn't an accident. Silicon Valley executives send their own kids to tech-free schools. They know exactly what they're doing to the rest of us. Sean Parker, Facebook's founding president, admitted, "We need to sort of give you a little dopamine hit every once in a while. It's a social validation feedback loop. Exactly the kind of thing that a hacker like myself would come up with, because you're exploiting a vulnerability in human psychology." They've turned human nature against itself. Our drive for pleasure, which once helped us survive, now keeps us enslaved. And most people don't even realize they're addicted until it's too late. This is exactly what Huxley predicted in Brave New World. His fictional society used a drug called soma to keep citizens docile and content. A gram A is better than a damn, characters would say, popping pills to avoid any discomfort. Sound familiar? Today's soma comes in many forms: endless scrolling, binge-watching, junk food, pornography, shopping. Different delivery systems, same result. a population too sedated to question, too comfortable to rebel. The statistics are staggering. In 2000, the average human attention span was 12 seconds. By 2015, it dropped to 8 seconds, less than a goldfish. Microsoft researchers found that heavy smartphone users can't focus on a single task for more than 40 seconds. We've shattered our consciousness into fragments, becoming what philosopher Byung-Chul Han calls the burnout society. Exhausted not from oppression, but from endless possibility. Every moment presents infinite choices: what to watch, eat, buy, post, like, share. This abundance doesn't liberate us, it paralyzes us. We become what psychologists call satisficers, settling for whatever gives immediate pleasure rather than pursuing what truly fulfills us. But isn't pleasure natural? Aren't we supposed to enjoy life? Here's the critical distinction most people miss. There's pleasure and there's cheap pleasure. Natural pleasures, achievement, connection, creativity, require effort and build us up. Artificial pleasures, processed foods, social media validation, mindless entertainment, require nothing and leave us empty. The ancient Greeks had different words for this. Hedonia meant immediate pleasure, eating candy, watching entertainment. Eudaimonia meant human flourishing, growing your own food, mastering a skill, building deep relationships. Modern society has weaponized hedonia against eudaimonia. We've chosen the candy over the garden. The consequences are everywhere. Dating apps promise endless options, but create epidemic loneliness. Why invest in one person when you can always swipe for someone better? Video games offer instant achievement, while real accomplishments require years of patient effort. Social media provides fake connection, while real relationships wither from neglect. Even our bodies rebel. Obesity rates have tripled since 1975, not because humans suddenly lost willpower, but because food scientists deliberately engineer hyper-palatable products that override our natural satiety signals. They've literally hacked our biology for profit. But the deepest damage is to our souls. When everything is easy, nothing has meaning. When pleasure is constant, joy becomes impossible. We're drowning in what Kierkegaard called despair of possibility. Infinite options, zero purpose. Yale psychologist Paul Bloom discovered something fascinating. Humans actually need discomfort to feel alive. Marathon runners, mountain climbers, spicy food enthusiasts, they derive profound satisfaction from voluntary suffering. Why? Because overcoming challenges creates meaning that passive pleasure never can. This explains why the happiest people aren't those with the most pleasures, but those with the most meaningful struggles. Viktor Frankl, who survived Auschwitz, observed that even in concentration camps, prisoners who found purpose suffered less than those who didn't. Meaning trumps pleasure every time. So, how did an entire civilization become addicted to empty pleasures? The transformation was gradual, then sudden. Post-World War II, prosperity brought televisions into every home. Advertising evolved from selling products to manufacturing desires. Credit cards enabled instant gratification without immediate consequences. Fast food chains standardized cheap dopamine delivery. Each innovation promised to make life easier, better, more pleasurable. But the real acceleration came with smartphones. Suddenly, infinite entertainment lived in our pockets. Social media gamified human connection. Algorithms learned our weaknesses and exploited them ruthlessly. We built a pleasure delivery system so perfect, so precisely calibrated to our vulnerabilities, that resistance became nearly impossible. Tech insider Tristan Harris revealed the truth. Smartphones are slot machines in our pockets. Every notification check mimics pulling a casino lever. Sometimes you win, an interesting message. Sometimes you lose, spam. But the variable reward schedule keeps you hooked. It's not a bug, it's the central feature. The scale is unprecedented. Americans check their phones every 5.5 minutes while awake. Teenagers spend 9 hours daily on screens. Adults consume 11 hours of digital media. We're living Huxley's nightmare, but calling it progress. And here's the truly terrifying discovery. Chronic pleasure-seeking physically changes your brain. Dr. Andrew Huberman's research shows it shrinks regions responsible for impulse control while enlarging addiction centers. You're not just choosing pleasure, you're losing the neurological capacity to choose anything else. This creates what addiction specialists call wanting without liking. You compulsively check your phone, eat junk food, or binge shows, not because you enjoy them, but because your rewired brain demands them. Pleasure becomes compulsion, freedom becomes slavery. But throughout history, individuals and cultures have found ways to resist pleasure's tyranny. The ancient Stoics practiced voluntary discomfort, cold baths, fasting, sleeping on hard floors, not as punishment, but as training. Modern research validates their wisdom. Deliberate challenge increases dopamine receptor sensitivity, making natural pleasures more satisfying. Buddhist monks spend decades learning to observe desires without acting on them. Neuroscience confirms that meditation literally rewires the brain, strengthening the prefrontal cortex and reducing compulsive behaviors. They're not denying pleasure, they're mastering it. Even today, certain communities maintain boundaries against artificial pleasure. The Amish limit technology. Religious groups practice regular fasting. Digital minimalists use basic phones. They're not backward. They're preserving something we've lost: cognitive sovereignty. But you don't need to abandon modern life. The solution starts with brutal honesty. Track your pleasure patterns. When do you reach for quick hits? What triggers your cravings? How do you feel afterward? Dr. Judson Brewer's research at Brown University shows that simply observing habits with curiosity, without judgment, begins breaking their power. He calls it surfing the urge. You acknowledge the craving, watch it rise and fall like a wave, but don't act. Each time strengthens your self-control circuits. Next, create friction. Silicon Valley optimizes for frictionless pleasure, so do the opposite. Delete apps from your home screen. Keep phones out of bedrooms. Use website blockers. Small obstacles create space for conscious choice. Then cultivate what Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi termed flow activities. Pursuits intrinsically rewarding rather than externally validating. Creating art, playing music, building things, solving problems. These generate deep satisfaction that shallow pleasures can't match. Most critically, embrace meaningful struggle. Set ambitious goals, master difficult skills, have hard conversations, build something lasting. These pursuits may not offer instant gratification, but they provide something far more valuable: genuine fulfillment. Consider James, a former gaming addict who played 14 hours daily. He started with 1 analog hour each evening. No screens, just books or conversation. The withdrawal was brutal. His brain screamed for stimulation, manufacturing anxiety to force him back online. But he persisted, filled the time with guitar practice and woodworking. After 3 weeks, something shifted. Colors seemed more vivid. Music sounded richer. His natural reward system was healing. 6 months later, James had built his first piece of furniture and could play 10 songs. "I thought gaming made me happy," he reflected. "I was just numb. Real joy requires real effort." This reveals the ultimate paradox. Limiting cheap pleasures enhances our capacity for genuine satisfaction. Choosing discomfort builds resilience. Delaying gratification creates meaning. Huxley's warning wasn't just about pleasure. It was about what pleasure could steal: our depth, our struggle, our humanity itself. But unlike his fictional world, we still have choice. The path forward isn't easy. Your brain will resist violently. Society will pressure conformity. Advertisements will promise happiness in products. Friends will mock your extreme choices. But on the other side of that resistance lies something precious: autonomy. Because true freedom isn't doing whatever you want, it's wanting what truly matters. It's choosing long-term fulfillment over short-term pleasure. It's building a life that doesn't require constant dopamine hits to feel worthwhile. As Blaise Pascal observed, all of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone. In our hyper-connected, hyper-stimulated age, that ability becomes revolutionary. So here's your choice: remain enslaved to engineered pleasures or reclaim your cognitive liberty. Continue chasing empty highs or build lasting satisfaction. Live as Huxley predicted or prove him wrong. The future isn't predetermined. Every time you choose meaning over pleasure, effort over ease, depth over distraction, you're writing a different story, not just for yourself, but for humanity. Because if enough people wake from this pleasure-induced stupor, if enough reclaim their attention and intention, we might create something Huxley never imagined: a society that masters pleasure instead of being mastered by it. The question isn't whether you'll experience pleasure or pain. Both are inevitable. The question is whether those experiences will be meaningful or empty, chosen or compelled, enriching or enslaving. Your next decision matters more than you realize. That notification calling your name, that show tempting another episode, that junk food promising comfort. Each represents a vote for the future you're creating. Choose consciously. Your freedom depends on it. Remember, in a world engineered to hack your brain, thinking for yourself isn't just smart, it's an act of rebellion. The most powerful revolution begins between your ears. Don't just consume this message and move on. Take one concrete action today. Delete one time-wasting app. Skip one habitual pleasure. Sit in silence for 10 minutes. Small acts of resistance compound into massive change. Share this video with someone trapped in the pleasure loop, but more importantly, embody its message. Ideas without action are just another form of entertainment. The pleasure trap is real, but so is your power to escape it. Everything you need already exists within you. The question is, will you use it? Your ancestors faced predators, famine, and war. You face a different enemy, one that kills not with violence, but with comfort, one that hunts not your body, but your potential. Will you be its prey, or will you finally break free? The choice has always been yours. Choose wisely. Your future self is watching. In a world drowning in artificial pleasure, genuine joy becomes the ultimate act of defiance. Create something. Connect deeply, challenge yourself, live deliberately. That restless feeling, that emptiness despite having everything, that's not depression. It's your soul demanding more than cheap substitutes for meaning. Answer the call, break the chains, reclaim your life. The revolution starts now, and it starts with you.